So now it's my pleasure to introduce my good friend and colleague for many years, Jim Elder, who is the founder and the director of the Campaign for Environmental Literacy. You can see what Jim has done with his life in his bio. He's been a terrific collaborator for me and for Second Nature over the years. And one of the most important things that he's been doing is figuring out how to leverage support for colleges and universities to pursue education for sustainability. And through the Campaign for Environmental Literacy, he's been able to do an incredible amount of work for all of us in higher education, and we owe him a great debt of gratitude. If it weren't for Jim, in the last 3 years, there wouldn't be $70 million that's available through federal agencies for environmental education. If it weren't for him, we wouldn't have the amendments to the Higher Education Act that occurred in 2008 that authorized the Department of Education to finally take a role in education for sustainability and authorize grants up to $50 million a year to, for colleges and universities and organizations like the President's Climate Commitment to pursue education for sustainability. And recently, he was instrumental in working with the Department of Education and with us to launch the first summit by the Department of Education on education for sustainability, which was remarkable because for the first time, all the federal agencies came together to talk about ways that they could advance the sustainability agenda. And I nearly fell off my chair when the Secretary of Education got up and made a passionate speech about how education has to be about sustainability. It's never been even in the breath of a Secretary for Education before, and a lot of that is due to the efforts of Martha Cantor, who is the former chancellor of the Foothills Dianza Community College District in California, and is now the Undersecretary for Education for the Department of Education, and has a mission of sustainability. So without further ado, let me introduce my good friend and colleague, Jim Elder.
Thank you, Tony. Make sure we've got the right slideshow here. Michelle? There we go. Whew. Dodged that bullet. The green one? Okay. Okay, let's go. I want to start by just extending some thanks of my own. 400 college and university presidents signed a letter to Congress requesting support for the University Sustainability Program this year. And slide, please. And another 100 signed a letter to Congress asking for support for a new program proposed by the administration at the Department of Energy called Re-Energize. Unfortunately, the Re-Energize program did not get support, but we made some progress with the University Sustainability Program, which I will tell you about in a second. Okay, the clicker's not going to work. What we did this year, in addition to producing a national letter, was that we asked 7 college and university presidents to take a leadership role in recruiting co-signatories from their colleagues within their states. And I just want to acknowledge those individuals who are coming up on the screen here. for going above and beyond the call of duty. This approach of going state by state and getting state letters that in turn have been sent on to state delegations in Congress, I think was very, very effective. So I just want to acknowledge Rick Torgerson from Luther College, who managed to get 21 of his colleagues to co-sign a letter to his senators and congressmen about the University Sustainability Program. Diane Harrison from California State, who got 18 signatures on her letter. Kevin Riley from the University of Wisconsin, 15 co-signatories. Marvin Krislov from Oberlin in Ohio. Ronald Thomas from the University of Puget Sound in Washington. Mary Cantor from Syracuse University. And Thomas Peirce from Evergreen State in Washington. And they were supported by Gene McGregor from Evergreen State, Chris Andrews from University of Wisconsin, and Jim Gelb from Cal State. Are any of these individuals, these 10 individuals in the room today? I don't think so, but if you are, could you just stand up? Okay. Well, thank you very much. And if we go to the next slide. Just quickly what the results were for fiscal year 2010. Congress funded finally the University Sustainability Program at the Department of Ed as an invitational priority of FIPC, the Fund for the Improvement of Post-Secondary Education, and gave FIPC $28 million. And the RFP on that came out in July, I think, and we're just starting to get the news on which proposals were funded. And I know of at least 3 that were sustainability proposals that have gotten funded. One is this Mobilizing STEM for a Sustainable Future that's based out of the AAC&U, and also Michigan State got funded for a sustainability project, and also Kankakee, is that how you say it? Community College in Illinois got about $500,000 as well. So we know of at least 3 projects that have been funded under this, which is really terrific because it's the culmination of about 4 years of work. And to see that actually start to translate into real dollars on the ground in your institutions is very gratifying. And then the National Science Foundation for the 3rd year in a row got $10 million for climate change education next, and NASA did as well. So altogether, given that 3 or 4 years ago there were $0 going into this at the federal level, we're starting to get a foothold with some important funds going out into the field. Next slide, please. So 2011, it's a little early to to report on this. Normally at this time of year we would have a budget for 2011, but given that it's election season, Congress has passed a continuing resolution, and that means that basically everything is level funded until at least December 3rd, and it's really unclear how things are going to turn out, whether any of that funding that you just saw for 2010 will continue into 2011 or not, or whether some of the new asks that we had will get funded. A lot of it will depend on what happens on November 2nd, and so it's a little difficult. It would have been great to be able to tell you a little bit about what we were planning for 2012, or for the fiscal year 2012, but we just frankly don't know a whole lot yet, and it'll depend what happens in November. Next slide. Tentatively, what we're thinking at the moment is that that we will again seek $50 million for a standalone University Sustainability Program, which is what was authorized, as Tony mentioned, in the Higher Education Act. There's also been some discussion, although we haven't quite come to any resolution on it, about seeking funding for a $250 million loan fund that would be based at the Department of Energy, and that was authorized by the Energy Independence and Security Act of 2007. That's actually on the books as an authorized program, so it's halfway there, but it's not clear how much value a loan fund like this would be to those of you who are seeking funds for building projects. And last but not least, we've been working for 3 years to try to get a provision in the climate change bill that would direct 1% of the proceeds into education. And of course, without a climate change bill, it's kind of hard to make that go anywhere at the moment, but it will continue to be on our radar, and we'll continue to put some time and effort into it. And of course, we will be supporting the continuation of the $10 million programs at NASA and NSF. Next. We'd also like to continue the strategy of dealing with, of trying to generate state letters. And these are the key states: New York, Wisconsin, Washington, Illinois, California, Iowa, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, Maine, Hawaii, and Ohio and Massachusetts. Those are the states that have the key appropriators, the ones that are who are really making the decisions. And if there are any of you from any of those states, we would be very grateful if you were able to join your colleagues in leading a letter from your state so that we can try to get the attention of your appropriators. Next. So what can you do? I think one point that I'd like to make, it's not particularly brilliant, but after 3 years of doing this kind of work, 4 years of doing this work, it's finally dawned on me that one of the bottom line dynamics is that you just have to simply ask. So much is going on with Congress these days, and there's so many competing interests up on the Hill that if we're not in the game, if we're not up there asking, there's just no way we're going to get the kind of support that we need. So simply asking is a really important thing to be doing. And second of all, the more people we can engage in making those asks, the better our chances. So 400 college and university presidents who have endorsed the University Sustainability Program is a pretty big group, and that's really good progress. My guess is that we need to get up to about 1,000 in order to reach the $50 to $100 million funding level that we think we need to really move the agenda forward. So we will be sending around through Second Nature, ACI, and some of the other groups like AACC some draft letters for Congress asking for funding for probably what you saw on an earlier slide, perhaps something a little bit different depending on what happens. And it'd be really great if you can sign on to those or get your president to sign on to those, and also to reach out to your congressional delegation directly and ask them to support these programs. Reach out to your peers. Reach out to the higher education associations. We really have not been able to get them on board yet beyond AACC, which has been great, but there are many others that we really need to engage in this advocacy effort. So they're going to do it if enough of their members ask for it, and it's really important that you let them know of your interest. And let us know if you need any help. Our job is to really support you in all this work. And
okay. By the way, just an additional thanks to all of you. If we didn't have the President's climate commitment, we would not have been able to get the attention of many presidents we wouldn't have gotten the University Sustainability Program and the Higher Education Act. And so I want to thank you all. Just so you understand, the steering committee has suggested that the President's climate commitment itself as an initiative not take any kind of political positions. So when we ask you to do this, we don't ask you as signatories to the President's climate commitment, we ask you as individual presidents. And the response has been terrific. But if we could get all 670 colleges and universities that have made the commitment to sign on to this, it would be really helpful. And we could get to that 1,000. We think we could reach that tipping point. And I think, as Jim mentioned, I may have been out at the moment. I was trying to get some fuel so that I could actually talk. What a number of you have done to get your colleagues within the state to sign on to letters and to make calls to congressmen and senators has made a difference. I do remember that during the discussions for the Waxman-Markey bill last year on the climate bill. It was the work of several individual presidents that we were able to talk with that actually called their congressmen that helped change the votes. And that really makes a difference because they do respect you in a very important way. They expect, one of the things that they know from college and university presidents, when you take it outside the money arena, because they expect you to always be asking for money of some kind. One thing they do, one of the reasons that we want to work with the presidents of colleges and universities is because given that they're always hit by environmental groups, labor groups, and all kinds of business interest groups, when it comes to issues like the big public issues like the path that we're on to create a better world for everyone, they tend to view you as presidents of colleges and universities as one of the most respected voices. And that's a really important thing, and we want to leverage that opportunity to make sure that we get the resources that will support you to continue to do the work that you're doing. I want to mention that we're going to take a break now, and we're going to start again at 9:15. We're going to start again at 9:15, but before we do that, I want to mention a couple of additional things. One is that in terms of progress this year, we now have 340 campuses, signatory campuses, that have submitted their climate action plans. That's terrific. And that's due to a lot of hard work by all of you on your campuses, and also was due to a lot of hounding that my staff did to make sure that everybody was on time. And I just want to let you know that you can go and take a look at what some of the other schools have been doing that is pretty exciting. And that's what the purpose of the public reporting is all about. David Shai, who is going to lead us into the next session, starting at 9:15, will give you kind of a thumbnail sketch of what we've been able to find in terms of doing analysis of what some of the climate action plans have been able to do on the campuses. And he will describe that in greater detail. But we intend to do more of this in the future so that we're actually helping you by summarizing, looking at trends, and being able to demonstrate to you where the initiative is going. I will tell you one overall thing, and that is that if all 670 of our schools get to climate neutrality, it will take 33 million tons of carbon dioxide out of the air. And that's pretty impressive. That's really very impressive. So why don't we all take a break now and come back at 9:15, and thank you very much.
You could really help the program team out just by taking your bags and such and just putting them on your chairs so that we can set all of the items and materials you need for the plenary. So that would be great. Thank you so much.